By the year 2154, Earth has become dangerously overpopulated and so polluted that recovery seems impossible. Countless new illnesses have emerged, leaving half of humanity chronically sick. Once thriving cities have crumbled into overcrowded slums. Society is sharply divided between the rich and the poor, with an ever-widening gap separating them. In search of a better life, the wealthy have abandoned Earth altogether, establishing a luxurious space station called Elysium, which orbits the planet, far removed from the suffering below. Elysium is a utopian city free from sadness and disease. It boasts every imaginable luxury, but its most prized possession is the medbay, a privately owned medical pod capable of instantly curing any illness or healing any physical injury known to mankind. While life on Elysium is perfect and dreamlike, conditions back on Earth are nightmarish. People live under the brutal rule of robotic police, who enforce a harsh zero-tolerance policy with violence. At the start of the story, we meet a young boy named Max da Costa and his friend Fray Santiago. They dream of a better life as they read about the wonders of Elysium. Max makes a heartfelt promise to Fray. One day, he will take her there. Life's hardships push Max down a darker path, and he ends up becoming a criminal. Over time, Max and Fray drift apart, losing all contact with each other. Trying to leave his criminal life behind, Max now works a regular job at Armadine Corporation, a factory that produces weapons and robotic police units for Elysium. One day, on his way to work, Max is confronted by robot officers. Accused of being disobedient, they violently break his wrist. When he goes to the hospital for treatment, Max is shocked to reunite with Fray, who has grown up to become a nurse. As Fray tends to his injuries, the two old friends reconnect after years apart. Max tries to ask Fray out, but before he gets the chance, she's called away to help another patient. Later, Max heads back to work. The CEO of Armadine Corporation, John Carlyle, is a wealthy resident of Elysium who oversees operations from Earth. A criminal named Spider has developed an illegal system to smuggle people from Earth to Elysium. However, the journey is extremely dangerous, and only a few manage to survive the trip without injury. The first step in the smuggling process is to implant Elysium identification brands on the people's wrists, allowing them to access the space station's facilities. Once branded, the migrants board 3 worn-out makeshift spaceships and set course for Elysium. As the ships approach the station, Jessica Delacourt, Elysium's defense secretary, is alerted to the security breach. Acting quickly, she reaches out to C.M. Kruger, a ruthless sleeper agent stationed on Earth and her trusted enforcer. Following Delacourt's orders without hesitation, Kruger launches surface-to-air missiles aimed at the incoming ships. 2 of the ships are struck down by missiles, killing 46 people on board. Luckily, the 3rd ship manages to dodge the attack and successfully lands on Elysium. However, before the passengers can scatter, Jessica orders security forces to capture them. Police helicopters and robotic enforcers quickly hunt down the intruders, arresting most of them. Among the group, only a mother and her ailing daughter manage to reach a medbay. Thanks to the identification band, the machine heals the girl instantly. But just moments later, robot police detain both of them, while the rest are forcefully deported back to Earth. Meanwhile, back on Earth, Max continues working at the Armadine factory. When a door at his workstation jams, his supervisor orders him to crawl inside and fix it. Despite the obvious dangers, Max follows orders. But as he steps in, the door slams shut behind him, exposing him to a deadly blast of radiation. Sometime later, Max is pulled out of the contaminated chamber and rushed to a medical bay. There, a robot coldly informs him that he has suffered massive radiation exposure, will experience total organ failure soon, and has only 5 days left to live. Robot hands Max a set of pills, designed merely to manage his pain and keep him physically functioning until his inevitable death. Meanwhile, after the missile attack, Jessica Delacourt is called in to meet President Patel of Elysium. Disapproving of Jessica's brutal tactics, Patel criticizes her reckless approach to security and the unnecessary loss of lives. Jessica defends her actions fiercely, arguing that she's protecting the future of Elysium's children from Earth's desperate masses. Patel makes it clear that if she causes more bloodshed, she'll be fired. Max, weak and struggling after work, is spotted by his old criminal friend Julio. Seeing Max's condition, Julio helps him take his medication. Max then asks Julio to get him in touch with Spider. Now desperate to survive, Max is determined to reach Elysium and use a medbay to heal himself. Along with Julio, he tracks down Spider and pleads for help, reminding him of a favor Max had done for him 3 years early. However, Spider proposes a deal instead. Max must extract classified information from the brain of a high-ranking Elysium official. Spider's goal is to use the stolen data to drain money from the official's bank account. If Max succeeds, Spider promises to arrange his transport to Elysium and ensure he gets medical treatment. With no other option to save his life, Max agrees. Ironically, the target he must hack is none other than John Carlyle, the same cold-hearted CEO who had dismissed Max's suffering without a second thought. Realizing Max's deteriorated state would make the mission impossible, Spider performs an emergency operation. He surgically installs a third-generation exoskeleton onto Max's body, enhancing his strength to match that of a robot enforcer. A neural interface is also implanted, allowing Max to upload and download data directly through his brain. Meanwhile, on another front, John Carlyle meets with Jessica Delacourt. Frustrated with President Patel's leadership, Jessica asks John to rewrite Elysium's core programming to make her the new president. John agrees and returns to Earth to carry out the override. To protect his mission, he also programs a deadly safeguard. If anyone tries to hack into his brain, the system will trigger a lethal response. Max and his team waiting for John board spacecraft and about to leave for Elysium, but Max shoot it down. Once the shuttle crashes, they find John Carlyle and prepare to extract the critical information from his mind and successfully retrieve the data from John's brain. In the meantime, Jessica Delacourt is alerted to John's critical condition. Furious, she immediately dispatches Kruger and his team to track down the people responsible for attacking John. Upon arrival, Kruger opens fire on Max and his team. A deadly battle ensues, and one by one, Max's teammates, including his best friend Julio, are killed. Max narrowly escapes, badly injured but alive, as Jessica grapples with the situation. Realizing someone now has access to her top-secret plans to overthrow President Patel, she takes drastic action. She jams all communication signals in the area, preventing any spacecraft from leaving Earth. Badly injured, Max seeks refuge with Frey for help. She brings him to her home and tends to his wounds. The next day, Max wakes up to find a young girl standing by his side. It's Frey's daughter, who is suffering from leukemia and doesn't have much time left to live. Frey begs Max to take her to Elysium, where she could receive life-saving treatment. But Max hesitates. He warns her that he's being hunted by dangerous people, and if they find out she's involved, Frey and her daughter could be killed as well. After Max leaves, Kruger and his team arrive, looking for him. They discover that Max was treated at Frey's house the previous night, and in retaliation, take Frey and her daughter hostage. Meanwhile, Max heads back to Spider, hoping to fulfill his side of the deal. He hands over the code he retrieved from John's brain, but to his dismay, he learns that Jessica has jammed all airspace, preventing any spacecraft from leaving Earth. As a result, Spider can't keep his promise to get Max to Elysium, leaving Max stuck in a desperate situation. As Spider analyzes the code Max retrieved from John's brain, he's shocked to discover that it's a program capable of rebooting Elysium's entire system. If they can rewrite the code, everyone on Earth could become a citizen of Elysium. Spider urges Max to wait for 5 days while they figure out how to override the system. But Max, with only hours left to live, decides to take a different route. He chooses to sell the code to Jessica in exchange for access to the medbay and a chance to save his life. Realizing that Kruger needs him alive, Max decides to turn himself in when Kruger comes to collect him. Max is shocked to see that Frey and her daughter have been captured as well. Kruger informs Jessica about the code, and she orders the airspace blockade to be lifted, allowing her ship to travel to Elysium with Max, Frey, and her daughter aboard. Meanwhile, Spider and his team seize the opportunity to follow them in a spaceship, determined to use the code for the benefit of all humanity. While on Kruger's ship, Max grows furious when he sees how Kruger treats Frey, and his anger towards Kruger intensifies. Their heated argument escalates into a full-blown shootout inside the ship. Max throws a grenade at Kruger, severely injuring him and blowing half of his face off. The damage causes the ship's control systems to fail, and it crashes into a luxurious house on Elysium. Meanwhile, Jessica orders that everyone aboard the ship be brought to her. Frey, with her daughter in tow, escapes the wreckage and searches for a medbay. She finds one but is unable to use it because she lacks citizenship. The guards capture them and bring them to Jessica. Kruger is taken to a medbay to have his face repaired. Jessica orders Max to be strapped into a machine that will extract all the information from his brain, knowing it will kill him. She gives permission for extraction as she leaves. Just as the procedure is about to begin, Max manages to break free. Jessica belittling Kruger for crashing the ship and endangering Elysium's citizens. She insults him further, causing Kruger to snap in rage. Kruger stabs Jessica in the neck, ending her life. Kruger plans to rewrite the code and make himself the new president of Elysium. His men are dispatched to eliminate all the politicians in the facility Meanwhile, Spider and his crew land on Elysium, tracking Max's location. Max, in his search for Frey, discovers Spider's presence in the facility through a screen. He contacts Spider and urges him to move forward with the plan to make everyone a citizen of Elysium, which will eliminate all diseases on Earth. Max then rescues Frey, sending her to the nearest medbay for her daughter's treatment, while he and Spider head to the mainframe to recode the system. However, on their way, they're ambushed by Kruger. Max and Kruger engage in a fierce fight, but Max is overpowered by Kruger's strength. The tide turns when Max manages to remove Kruger's neural chip, effectively dismantling his entire system. After defeating Kruger, Max and Spider make their way to the mainframe. They're ready to extract the code from Max's brain, but there's a catch. CEO John had programmed the system so that anyone who extracts the code would die. Max realizes that to save humanity, he must sacrifice himself. With little time left, Max calls Frey, telling her that he kept the promise he made to her when they were children. In a final emotional moment, Max presses the button to reboot the system, killing himself in the process. The system recognizes all humans as Elysium citizens, and Frey's daughter is healed in the medbay. Meanwhile, many ships are sent to the Earth with medbays to help people recover from diseases and injuries. And the movie ends here.